Hey, welcome back to the Stock Chart Report. So let's just take a look at the land and see where things are at, and might have to do multiple of these short videos because try to keep them under 3 minutes so they can go in the shorts tab. But let's check it out. So SPY ran up on Friday in the afternoon, and right now it's kind of in that zone where it could either go run back to 754 or it could go down $10 to 738 and then reevaluate from there. Is it going to continue an uptrend? Is it going to run sideways for another week? I would say 738 is the low end, and 725 is the extreme low level. If it's going to run up, it's got to 754, and then it's going to hit a ceiling at 754. So that's a solid level above. So the risk reward is probably leaning to the downside slightly. QQQ. Let's see what happened. It sold off all of Friday morning, and it rallied back into the afternoon. And that's definitely going to be looking for another leg down to 675. Let's see here, 693. We're below that level. So we have all this downside on the Qs. So looking for it to go down. 672 is a good level. 661 is a really low one. 682 is the next level. And then if it gets below 661, there's a good chance there's 661 over here as well. It's a good chance we're going to see it run all the way through all this back into the low 6, high 5, so 594 to 600, right in there. So if you want to go short the Qs, SQQQ is one way to do that. See what gold did. Gold is mostly flat, and looks like it's probably going to fall back into this 368 range. Maybe catch a bounce off of 365 back to 377, and that could finally decide if it's going to start moving into the uptrend or if it's going to keep consolidating sideways. Right now it's almost a bear flag in some cases. And if that's going to be the case, then we have all this down room to 310. So 368 to 318, plenty of down room. If it's going to reverse trend, 368 to 375 to 387 is probably a safe target up. Again, more likely leaning down than up. Monday tends to be a positive day in the stock market. It's usually a day when stocks run, and then by Wednesday it might go back down again. Let's see what silver's doing. Silver, kind of the same problem. Silver's got more downside to go. Probably down to 44. That would be a target zone for silver, is about 44. Amazon looked flat on Friday, but the reality is it took a huge bounce off of 226. So there's a $50 move there in just 3 days. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So two trading days. $50 move back to the top of this range. You can see it was right there, 271. Whoops, moved again. Right there, 271. So right back to the top of the range. And looks like it wants to get back up on that top level and run up again. If it does, probably measure the move. So call it 213 to 270. So about $60. So $60 on 271, probably 330 would be a target there. Google Google did amazing on Friday. 340 to the high 357, so $17 move on Friday from Google. It caught a nice bounce as well. You can see there. And it's probably still in the lower lows, so now it's got the challenge of that channel. If you were to draw a line from this peak, and then go through this peak to this peak, that's the top of the parallel, and then this is the bottom of the parallel. A line from here to here to here. So if you project that out, you're probably looking at 332 to the downside, and unless it somehow breaks out of this 356, 370, and then goes up 380, 382. So Google, I'm probably thinking may do good on Monday, probably not going to do good on Wednesday, maybe not so good on Tuesday. See how it does. All right, Tesla got spanked. 374, 308, 311, 312. So yeah, Tesla's definitely bear flagging. And bear flagging, let's see. I can get in that little lower low. 302. So 300 is a psychological level, and then 250 at some point. So yeah, it would be nice to see Tesla get back down to 260, 250. That would kind of be the aim, 253. Don't see it bouncing up from where it is now. Maybe it'll bounce off of 329 to 340 and then make the rest of the way down. I don't know that it'll get to 186 or 160. That would be a stretch. I would say 250 is probably the bottom. 241, somewhere in there. That's probably going to be bottom for the moment. Aiming for lower, not higher. Meta. And again, if you want to go to the short side on Tesla, there's a few of them. There's TSLS, there's TSLQ, and there's TSDD. So check the charts and match them up. Meta, let's see, kind of ran up on Friday like Google did. A little more choppy. 558 all the way down, so it just took a bounce off the bottom of that shoulder neckline, you want to call that. There's a big old giant mountain, and it's hard to say. I'm thinking when it was over here, I knew it was going to go down. METD was the play there. The risk reward was there. But now that it's at the bottom, it's got to get into this 579 and then hold and run back up. So maybe V-shaped recovery is an option. Otherwise, there's a triangle there. If you drew a line across the top of these highs at a diagonal down, and you drew a line across the bottom of these lows as the support, across the bottom of this low, and this low, there's a wedge there. You'd have to look up and see what ascending wedge and descending wedge look like on the charts for a stock pattern and determine if you feel like that's what that is. It might break out. Or this is the shoulder, this is the head, and we're going to make another shoulder in the 504s, at which case 353 to 310 comes into play. But I would stick with certainly above 450. 543. So that's probably your rock bottom number for the moment. Then if it gets below that, it's got plenty of room to the downside. If it breaks out and holds up, you're looking at getting back to 614. So 600 is the next logical. 595, next logical upside on that one. NVIDIA. Let's see here. NVIDIA low 195. Took a bounce back to 201. NVIDIA looks like it's going to go down. And let's see. There's 196 again. Once it crosses below that, you got all this downside. And to short NVIDIA with an ETF, you can do NVDS or NVDD. I think both of those. Let's see, NVDD, 1X bear, and then I think NVDS as well, 1.5. So both of those are an option. Check them out. If you decide you want to go short NVIDIA below 198, you got 196, 188, 178, and then I would probably get out and assess from there. Is it going to keep going into this 171, or is it going to run back up to 183? And let's see. Plenty of room to the downside. If you're long NVIDIA, you're going all the way back from 200 to 205 to 211 to 215 to 220 to 225. But I would say, based on the 6-month chart, there's ample room to the downside ahead for NVIDIA. AMD. I know Financial Education with Jeremy loves this thing, but I was feeling like this was the time to get out, was at that 540 range. He was calling for it to go to 600 from there, but it just didn't make any sense for it to be going to 600 from there with the move away from all the semis. NVIDIA is not immune to that. So there you see 552 all the way down to 429. So if you wanted to play that in the future on a downside move you expect coming, AMDD will do that for you. The problem is a lot of these ETFs, the main companies have caught on to what Microsoft does to get that ETF price for the negative inverse to pay almost nothing, so that people are less attracted to go shorting their stuff. Because you used to be able to get a way better margin. You can see, let's go back. AMDD. You can see the move was way up there, right? And then they just cut the head off the snake, and now the move barely made you $5. So they've consolidated it down, whereas before $200 made you like $30. Now 50. So about $70 made you $5. So kind of harsh. Apple. Let's see. Apple. Everybody's saying Apple is the smart, wise one that stayed out of the AI race. Let's see. Definitely had way back in this part of the year, it became the rotational play, and it did run right up to 310, and then it corrected. This is all Wall Street tree shake, people taking profits and everybody letting Apple go down, and then this is all moved to say no, the stock's worth way more than that, and 340 was the top, and then boop, Wall Street tree shake people out, and now it's at 308, which is right there. So it's got room to the downside, but probably only to 295, And then it probably has a bounce. If not, it's going all the way to 283. Go shake out some more people. 280. If it goes to the upside, it's got to get back to 321, 326, 333, 340. So looking for a bounce here, somewhere off of this 295 to 300 level, and it can bounce as much as 314. And Microsoft had a great shot in the arm. Friday was a good runner. Let's go back to that. Let's see, 450 to 462, so $12 move. High of the day, 464, 466. You can see that big bounce off of 390. So huge upside there for Microsoft off the earnings report. Now it's at the top of the range here. So it's either going to climb out of 460, and where does that leave it going? It's got to get back into this 483, 490, 500 level, or it's at the top of the range and it goes back to 407 by way of 423, 429, 444. There's all that support right there for it. So even if it goes down to 444, and then it could run right back up to 477, and then 480, 483, 477, 478, 490, 5 something. So you can see there's the head and shoulders. So there's the shoulder, neckline. Here's the head, neckline. There's the shoulder, neckline, and then boop. And because it's the market said no, we're not going to let it go down to 378. So let's just take the bounce at 396 and run. 390, boom, all the way up. So $74 move there for Microsoft. If you caught that, you did awesome. And it makes sense. A lot of people have been saying, like, oh, Microsoft is a long-term company. This stock could be $1,000 a share in 2 years. And it probably can. Let's go back to the 5-year. So there's room. If you don't mind buying at the top of the range, there's room. I personally would rather catch it on Wednesday on a pullback somewhere down in 390, or at least 427, somewhere down in there, rather than buying the highest high of the 6-month chart. Palantir, what is it doing here? I don't want to do that. I just want to read the Palantir chart. PLTR. There we go. There we go. Okay, so low of the morning. And you can see the typical trade. It opens. You have a spike in the morning for the first 5 minutes. And then by 9:45 or 10 o'clock to 10:30 is when you see the rest of the move. There's the 10:10. There's the 10:30, 10:35. And then from there it goes. You can see that with every chart too. You can see. If I go back to the 1 day. You have the open, you have the first 5 minutes, you have the till 10 o'clock, and then you have the 10:30, and then you have the 11 and on. And it'll run a little bit longer on a Monday than a Friday, so it could go to 10:30 instead of 10. Here, let's see what it did. It was flat, first 5 minutes, down, back up again. There's the 11. That's not the greatest one to look at for that. Let's go back. AMD. There you go.
open, first 5 minutes, spike, and then it was a down day Friday, so 10 o'clock, 10:30, right there, 10:30, and then 11. So you can see that pattern over and over again, whether it runs up after that 10 o'clock or if it runs down. You know, the majority of like all the good action is right here, and then you got to wait for the afternoon session to come on. So Palantir, it's looking bleak for Palantir. Could run up from there, but I'm thinking 116. Thinking 128 is resistance. Again, 128 is definite resistance. 127.99. So there's 3 key spots where it's got to get there and stay above that and run up, or it's going to reject 128 and it's going to go right back down to 115 and below. And this is looking like it wants to reverse trend. So it's got to get past 128 and stay above it to get back into the 150s. Otherwise, 117 gets you down to 100 again. 117, 119 gets you down to 100. I don't know, probably 93 would be the low. So that's kind of where I'd be on Palantir. And we could look at defense stocks. So Boeing. Let's see, what's Boeing doing? Boeing fell off the shelf. Looks like a camel foot up, bull flagging. 215 to 230. And there's not much downside there. 210 at the most, 209. So room for it to run. If it falls below 210, then we got some trouble. Could be all the way down into that 196 level. RTX. Let's see what RTX did. It ran up in the afternoon. You got the Iran war going on. Bull flagging. Could fall off there, but it might have legs to take off and run. 5-year chart looks strong. Brigade Bolt 178 to 204, so maybe $30 move takes it to 245. LHX bounced at the bottom, probably looking at lower lows. Plenty of downside room there, so it's not one I'd want to play with. LMT, we just saw that cup and handle play out. What was it, last week? We had this cup and handle, so that was the top of the cup, 548. Top of the cup, 545. There was the handle. We played it off of the bottom right there. We caught the majority of that move. Sold out at 582. And then it never quite got past the 581 right there. Just kind of pizzled out. And now it took a little bear flag, and now we're right back at 582. So there's a chance that LMT wants to go do the rest of this run. So 592, 600, 611, maybe as high as 622. That's all in play right there. And this is looking strong on the 5-year. So 560 is probably support. 604 to 620 is the upside areas. GD is General Dynamics. So you can see here again, first 5 minutes, then the next 10:30, and then the rest of the day. So GD is probably looking down to 374. Not very strong right there. Northrop Grumman took a little tree shake in the after hours. Let's see here. 512, 547, 539, 559. There's probably a little bit of upside room there, but it's overall consolidating, and the risk reward is probably equal on each side, so I wouldn't really mess with it. TDG. This stock moves a lot. But again, it's probably looking riskier to 235, 212, 250 to 212, 238, 235, 238. It's kind of in that zone of consolidation again. 225, 294. It doesn't have the positioning with that line chart to break out right there, but on the 5-year, it looks like it's going to be bear flag back to 220 or 1220. 1212 is the low. Let's see if we can get that low. 1237. So something 1237 to 1212 is probably the low side. I don't think it'll go back to 1167 yet. If it does, I would